So unfortunately, just in life in general, as humans, we're attracted to a lower price, right? It's just in our nature. But there's a reason why. So I live in New York City, and I'm constantly walking Fifth Avenue Fashion District. There's a reason why the Gap and Old Navy always have discounts on clothing and H&M. Um, Good clothing brands, obviously, but there's also the other reason why Gucci and Chanel almost never have these public-wide discounts. Uh, there's a reason. When a company truly believes in their product and has invested a certain amount of money in their people, in their technology, in everything, in their business operations, and they're confident that they have a superior product, they're confident that within due time, uh, traders will come to understand why OneUp does not offer discounts left and right. It is amazing how many emails I get from competitors saying, "Oh, we're offering 35%, 20% off. We're offering this." There's a reason why. And it's funny. I had this conversation with a buddy the other day on something similar. Um, and it basically goes, so you don't want to marry the girl that you kiss on the first date. You want to marry the girl that makes you wait a month. Just to parallel how that relates to this is that the fact that something is cheaper or very easy to obtain, it signifies something about maybe the lower or lack of quality of that product. And it truly shows. So you and I love OneUp and MES for the very fact that I do communicate constantly with the staff, but I feel like I really know you guys and I feel comfortable. So since I feel comfortable, I trust you. Um, and trust is the most important thing in this industry, which is quickly eroding with all these new rules. Some firms are even straight up denying legit profit withdrawals because in the agreement they state they reserve the right to refuse any withdrawal amount, and it's all over social media. It's on Reddit, it's on Twitter, it's on Facebook. If you look hard enough, you'll see traders who busted their butt for months to get a funded account, grow it to a certain amount, ask for a withdrawal, and then the funder says, "Oops, I'm sorry. We changed the rules a few weeks ago, and your trading activity no longer complies with our profit withdrawal regulation." That is just for my European buddies out there, malarkey. That's just hogwash. It's bollocks, and it's very unfair because traders invest a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of tears, and a lot of hopes into the company that they decide to trade with, and then they get a certain amount of momentum, and then when they try to make a withdrawal, the company straight up refuses them. But MES, which is a funder firm, they process withdrawals anywhere from 24 to 48 hours. My experience has been extremely seamless. My story basically is I complete the evaluation at OneUp, I send in my email, literally within 24 to 48 hours, I have a funded account ready to trade. And as long as I comply with all the rules and I have a decent amount of profit, I send an email to MES and they process it under 48 hours most of the time. That is not even unique. Unique isn't even the right word. It's just you your company and MES are basically the only only duo that is doing this. All the other companies either make you wait a month or two, refuse your withdrawal, or make you wait anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks. That's just not fair. Sometimes I go into the Discord and I see, OneUp representatives answering questions 2 a.m. in the morning. That's unheard of in this industry, but it's good to see that you guys are really raising the bar. You're setting a new standard, and just everything that you guys are doing, especially analytics. I think the improved analytics will let traders know that this is something very important that they really need to understand to better the actual quantitative part of their trading toolbox, right? Because it's not just important to know that you're making 5,000, 10,000. It's really important to know the statistics behind your trading to see if you have a healthy profit factor, to see your winning loss, losing loss, sort of the trades, to see how to see if it's a healthy balance. And it's very important because that in and of itself is the most important indicator you have as a trader. Other than your charts, is your internal charts to see how healthy your trading actually is. And I think you guys have really stepping up everything, and in true OneUp MES fashion, you guys are not doing it all at once and then messing up. You guys are taking your time, evaluating, getting trader feedback, getting industry feedback, and then you guys are implementing it the right way so that it's not one of those 2 steps forward, 1.5 steps back. You guys are just very incrementally doing it, laying the foundation, and that's what makes for a successful business. I tell them just straight up. So like how I mentioned consistency in traders, that also applies to companies and funders. Like I said, my first funded trader agreement from about 2 years ago, it's literally identical to the funded trader agreement that I signed a few months ago. That in and of itself tells you that OneUp, MES Capital, you guys are not trying to trip up the trader and say, oops, we got you. No, you can't take a withdrawal. Like I said, the great thing I love about your company and MES, the funder, is that I really trust you guys. I speak with you. We email each other a lot just on other topics. I email MES guys, and there's a relationship, and that's why it's a true partnership, right? It's not just, oh, this guy Gil, he paid his evaluation fees, and he's probably going to fail, so let's add in more rules to make him fail even more, so we can make him pay for another evaluation. That's just ethically, morally bankrupt, and that type of practice, obviously we can't go into specific names, but there are a few firms out there that are in how shall I say, legal hot water, right? Because of misdeeds that the founders have done, or just social media outrage over the addition of rules that do not make sense, or obviously were implemented to trip up the trader just to generate more evaluation test fees. Just to keep them on that hamster roll, right? To just keep them constantly blowing up an account, resetting, and resetting. However, if you know that your funded firm and your evaluation firm, stay true to their colors and do not add any ridiculous trading parameters, rules, regulations, and literally let the trader trade in an environment where there's a certain level of mutual respect and trust, then that trader is going to eventually learn the right way, have discipline, because there's no extra baggage, emotional, sort of nonsense going on that'll trip them up. That allows a trader to really figure out who he or she is. We recently had the FOMC. Now, any experienced trader would tell you the most volatile events are basically the jobs data that we get every month and the FOMC. Now, I was very diligent to make sure that I was flat during the 2 p.m. Decision. And I know that there's always a press conference statement afterwards. Unfortunately, things happen in life and I forgot. So I kept the position on through the statement announcement, and then I get an email from my funder, MES Capital, saying, you broke one of the rules. We have a 2-strike policy. Just make sure it doesn't happen again. Guess what? Any other firm, the email would have read, Gil, sorry, you broke a rule. You lose your funded account. But guess what? I still have my funded account, even though I technically broke one of the trading rules. Nobody else does that. There is no other firm that does that. I have a very, very different experience maybe from some other people. I've been with OneUp/MES for about a little over 2 years now. It took me approximately 1 year to make a series of withdrawals. I've probably withdrawn about 12K plus, so not a small amount. I've been personally trading for about 20 years. I've been trading full-time futures for about maybe 4 or 5 years. And historically, I've always been a swing trader. As a swing trader, we obviously have a higher risk tolerance in exchange for a higher profit return. So I'm very familiar with the industry. I'm very familiar with trading rules in general. And right now, what is going on in the funded trader industry is, how shall I say, for lack of a better word, it's ridiculous. And I say this, and I briefly mention my history with your company because I look back at the very first funded trader agreement that I signed almost 2 years ago, and I compared it to the funded trader agreement that I recently signed a few months ago. Guess what? It's amazing. There's only one additional clause, and that additional clause is just the addition of US Treasury auctions where you have to be flat. That is amazing compared to what the other firms are doing. The other firms are doing a 10-second trade rule, 20-second trade rule, etc., which is suicide for scalpers. And you mentioned the withdrawal policy. Some firms don't let you withdraw until after a month or two. Some firms require that you have a certain performance threshold. It's almost as if they truly want to prove that they don't care about traders and only care about their company profit. But OneUp/MES, you guys have stayed very true to your colors from years ago. And, I think a smart trader doing their homework within due time will see that OneUp and MES actually do care about traders. They actually do want their traders to succeed. It's just wrong. That's it. It's a travesty because, like you said, trading is hard enough. Making profit is hard enough. Withdrawals should be the easiest process. It's basically just asking your funder to send over money that you had legitly made, and all of a sudden there's a time lag or there's a straight up refusal, and I guess because it's in the agreement, it's not criminal, but it's morally and ethically wrong, and they know it because at all these companies, they obviously have an in-depth knowledge of trading and traders, and to say that to lure these traders with a discount and then sort of not not deliver false promises, but tell you one thing, and then when it's time for you to actually make good on that withdrawal and they refuse, it's just it's saddening because to anyone who is true and dedicated to perfecting our craft of trading, the whole goal of trading is to put money in your bank account. But if you're not able to put money in your bank account, then what is the point of trading? Every time I break one of my rules or I have a bad day or something like that, I go back to the OneUp Trader website and I look at the rules that you have implemented for traders. And I cannot express how much I appreciate the level of discipline that it really instills. For a beginner trader, looking at those rules, obvious reaction is, oh, these rules are unnecessary. I don't need them. I'm a good trader. Lo and behold, what happens? A week or two later, they blow up an evaluation or funded account, and they do their homework over the weekend. And then they say, darn, if I had just followed the rules that OneUp Trader implemented, I would still be trading a regular account. So it's really helpful, I think, for beginner traders to constantly remind themselves that the rules that your company and MES, the funder, have implemented are there for a reason. I mean, it's the scary thing about life and trading in general is that discipline is so easy to forget about in the heat of the moment. Um, and it's incumbent upon a trader who wants to be serious about making this a career to constantly remind themselves that OneUp/MES have these rules to make sure that I stay in the game. But again, as a beginner, you're not thinking that way because that's how we all were, right? We say, if there were fewer rules, I would be able to withdraw $50,000 in a year. That's a pipe dream. Without the discipline first, you're not going to make profit. And even if you do make profit, like I always tell people in trading, making money, making profit is easy. As a trader, making money is very easy. Keeping it is hard. That's the fine line between a gambler slash impulsive slash emotional trader and a professional trader. A professional trader is consistent, right? Because he or she has the discipline thing down to a certain degree, and whatever profits they make, they have enough discipline to have a system where if they're down or they have a certain amount of drawdown for the day, they can stop or at least calm down, take a walk around the block. I mean, I really don't think that people appreciate enough how good the rules that you guys have set are. And unfortunately, just like anything, it takes time. But within time, they will come to understand that the rules that you guys have set are for the benefit of the trader. They're willing to listen. To be honest, that's probably my number one advice that I would give to traders. Actually, is do not try to complete your evaluation in 1 month, and I'll tell you why. Be honest with yourself. Look at the fees, the struggles that you have put in, and do the simple math. Rather than trying to pass an evaluation in 1 month, which actually, sort of encourages YOLO trading, loading up 10 NQ contracts, and that's suicide. I read about people, loading up on 5, 10, any, NASDAQ contracts, and that's insane. That's just, you're committing financial suicide. But more than that, you will never get to a level of consistency in your P&L that will be conducive for you to have a career as a trader. My advice rather is to take your time. My perfect timeline would be 2 to 3 months. But then traders say, hey, but Gil, then, for example, if I'm trading with OneUp, then, they're probably not going to like it. And they're probably going to implement, additional rules so that I can blow up my account. No, and I'll tell you why. I know the guys at OneUp and MES Capital well enough to know that they would love that. Why? It would be a huge feather in their cap for them to be able to say, our traders are successful. Our traders, more than other traders, have been able to withdraw X amount of money, but for a long time. We're not just talking about those one-time withdrawals. At other firms, typically that's what most traders will do. They'll have a nice profit, they'll withdraw, and then they'll open their own account. Most likely, and I've seen this in social media posts, they wind up blowing their own account and going back. So what happens is there's no discipline, there's no consistency, so there's no confidence. And, so my advice is, if you can, take a deep, honest evaluation of yourself and realize that if you take the time to actually, have a longer time period to pass your evaluation, then you can do that with your funded account. And in return, you'll have better discipline because you know that you've been more consistent. So please do not try. And again, I'm not saying that you're not able to, that you don't have the confidence nor the ability. It's just that as a trader, the single most important thing, to be honest, the single most important thing, even more so than withdrawing profit, is to have a track record, right? You want to be able to look at your history and say, wow, it's been 7 months since I've broken a rule, or since I've had to reset. That is extremely impressive. You see all these traders who post their one day 2,000, 5,000, 7,000, dollar profit days, and what happens the next day? They blow up their account. The reason they do that is because there's no consistency. So consistency will generate discipline. Discipline will generate consistency. If you're a consistent trader, you don't have to worry about taking out profits because it's almost a part of your DNA. But it takes time, just like anything else. I always like to tell people trading is a marathon. A marathon is 26.1 miles. Now, if I'm running in that marathon at the sound of the gun at the beginning of the marathon, maybe I give it all out. Maybe I run a 5-minute mile for 1 or 2 miles. But more often than not, what will happen? I'll probably gas out. I'll probably have to stop, catch my breath, and while I'm on the ground, huffing and puffing, I'll see all the other marathon runners pass by me. Trading is no different. You cannot just try to go straight out gangbuster from the start. You have to pace yourself. This is a 26.1 mile race, and you have to be very strategic about how much of your leverage you use. Your leverage in a marathon being basically your stamina, your lung power reserve. Trading is the same thing. You cannot go all out. There has to be some level of consistency, because once you're consistent, that means you're disciplined. If you're disciplined, then that means that you're that much closer to being a professional trader. Like I said, I've been with OneUp and MES for a little over 2 years now. I've developed a good relationship with the people, the support staff, as well as some of the other traders. And just know who you're dealing with. I think it's very important in life. The most important thing is to know yourself. The second most important thing is to know the people around you that you're interacting with. And I think if you do your homework and your due diligence, you'll find that OneUp and MES truly have the trader in mind and in their concern.